Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is our Week 13 NFL game picks. I have Chris and I have Eddie with me today. Unfortunately, we don't have Bryce. He cannot make it today. But it's been an interesting week, Week 12. Started on Thanksgiving, ended a week later because the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, most of the Baltimore Ravens had COVID issues, so they had to play the game on Wednesday. And that being said, canceled the Thursday night game. That was going to happen this week. So we have a later video this week. Point is, last week I went 12-4, and that keeps me on top at 119-58. And then since Bryce is not here, I'm going to announce his stats. He went 13-3. He had the best week out of all of us. And that puts him at 111-66, which is third place. What about Eddie? What about you?
So I'm at 114-63, went 10-6 on the week. And yeah, can't catch you. So trying.
I am all the way down here at the bottom. I know everybody's shocked to see me here, but I am. I went 9-7 last week. I'm 108-69, looking to bounce back.
Yeah, you can keep trying, but I don't think you're gonna get close. No, I'm kidding. But it's honestly pretty close battle between all of us. We're about at the most 11 games apart, me and Chris. That's the biggest gap. Besides that, Bryce is 5 games behind me, and then between Eddie and Bryce, 3 games. Between Bryce and Christopher, 3 games. So it's close. So at any given moment, someone can have a bad week and it's all over. Point is, what was your biggest take from Week 12? I will let you guys answer that first because I'm still thinking about mine.
My biggest takeaway from Week 12 is it's got to be the Denver Broncos getting punished, in my opinion. I mean, how many days did the Baltimore and Pittsburgh game get pushed back? And Denver, they just said, you know what? You guys broke the rules. Find a quarterback. So I feel like that's got to be my biggest takeaway for the week just because it's 2020. It's COVID year. This is one of the worst weeks so far, at least that I can think of so far, that COVID has affected the NFL. So that's my biggest takeaway, and seeing how Denver actually competed with a wide receiver playing quarterback, so props to him. But I didn't think it was fair. Denver might not be in the playoff running, but even so, I think they should have postponed that one.
I don't know if you consider only scoring 3 points and having 1 completion and 2 interceptions as competing. But, I mean, they gave it their best shot. But I was watching that game on my iPad, and, I had the other game I was playing on at that time on the TV, and it felt like that Denver Broncos game and Denver and New Orleans game just ended, instantly because, I looked away for 1 second, and the next thing I know, the game was over. So I'm pretty sure New Orleans tried killing clock, and so did Denver. What about you, Eddie?
I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs. They keep rolling. Tyreek Hill put up 200 receiving yards in the first quarter, which is insane. And the team to beat, I think. And that in the NFC West is insane. I mean, any one of those teams can beat each other in a given night.
Yes, the NFC West is up for grabs, and so is the NFC East. I mean, the Giants are leading at 4-7. Me and Chris were talking about this earlier in class, that the winner out of the NFC East is going to probably come out with a losing record. But like it mentioned in previous games that were nationally televised, the winner of those divisions that were minus 500 won their playoff game, their first playoff game at least. So, I mean, there's some aspiration there. But the Giants are dealing with some injuries, just like a lot of teams are. But let's just jump right into the action. So first game we have slated here, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Miami Dolphins. And a couple weeks ago when Tua had just been announced as a Dolphins starter and Joe Burrow was still somewhat lighting up the league, this looked like a really interesting matchup. And then as of late, hasn't looked that interesting. Tua's kind of injured. He's on and off. And then Joe Burrow out for the year, broken leg, basically. Point is, who knows the Dolphins are going to have as starting at whether it's Tua or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Tua is questionable. I'm still going to ride with the Dolphins. I think the Dolphins have an overall better team. I feel like the Bengals really have good running backs and good wide receivers, which could kill the Dolphins. But overall the rest of the team is not as good as the Dolphins. What about you, Eddie?
No, yeah, I think regardless who plays quarterback for the Dolphins this week, I think they should be in pretty good position to win. Their defense has been pretty great all year long, and especially with the young quarterback, I can't even name Cincinnati's quarterback right now, but Dolphins should be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Their corners are some of the best in the league, and yeah, so I'm gonna take the Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Dolphins as well. They're starting Brandon Allen at quarterback. Cincinnati is. I don't know who he is. I think Ryan Finley played last week, so it's kind of in the air. But, yeah, this is a little disappointing. I was hoping to see Burrow and Tua, both rookies. And I'm gonna have a take here, and you guys might hate me for this, but the more I watch Tua, the more I think he's the fourth best quarterback in that draft, and probably going to be the fourth best quarterback in his division. I have not been impressed with Tua at all. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to go far in the playoffs with Tua, and I think you guys are better off going back to Fitzpatrick. But for this game, I think I got the Dolphins winning for sure.
That's so contradicting, Chris. You bash on the Dolphins for like a good minute, and then you're just like, I'll pick them. But who is the third best quarterback coming out of the draft? Since he's obviously you would probably have Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. Who would be the third one since Tua's the fourth one?
Jordan Love's going to be the third best quarterback.
Jordan Love hasn't even played a single snap. Oh my
exactly,
God.
But he's going to be the best quarterback in the draft. Aaron Rodgers, your GOAT, Aaron Rodgers is going to train him, man. He's going to coach him up.
I mean, I would still take Tua over Trubisky and Foles right now.
Oh, absolutely. We love him.
I feel like Chris
I'm just kidding. No, we wouldn't.
That's for that burn, Chris. Point is, we're all going with the Dolphins here, and unfortunately, Bryce wasn't able to make his picks before we started recording. But next week, we're going to announce his record and some of the key games that he really liked. But point is, that's about it for this game. Next, we have the Cleveland Browns at the Tennessee Titans. And this is probably one of the hardest games for me to pick this week. Both teams are 8-3. And, I mean, Tennessee obviously showed what they can do last year, having a deep playoff run all the way to the AFC title game. And the Browns are kind of like the new kid on the block in the sense as being successful as of late because they've been hyped up super much a lot last year. And then this year, they're actually backing it up, especially now without Odell in the lineup. They've been doing good on moving the ball. I'll let you guys pick first, and then I'll get both my pick.
Yeah, for this game, I usually have to go with the better quarterback, and that's Ryan Tannehill. They both have been running the ball exceptionally well to start the year, and that's really the saving grace for Cleveland because Baker has been pretty terrible in a lot of games. But he's been good enough to win, good enough to get them at 8-3. But I'm going to take the Titans. I just think they're a better overall team. And they're 8-3, but they might have a better record if this was a normal season.
I want to take Tennessee. I do think Tennessee is the better team all around. I'm going to take Cleveland. I think they go into Tennessee, and I think it'll be a close game regardless of who wins, but I don't know. I have a feeling that the Browns can pull this one out.
This is why it's really tough for me because both teams have an excellent running game. I mean, for the Titans, they basically have one of the best running backs in football. But that does pose the question that the Browns' defense practices against arguably two of the best running back combo in the NFL. So I'm pretty sure they're decent at stopping the run, you know? So it's really going to come down to who could run the ball better because these are both two ground and pound teams. I mean, like you said, Baker Mayfield doesn't have to have success to be good, win a game for the Browns. They just need to run the ball good, and he needs to make the right reads. And then for Ryan Tannehill, it's basically the same thing. They're both basically game managers. So I got to take Tennessee at home. Is this a feeling? But I wouldn't be surprised if the Browns win because they've been having a pretty good season. Next, we're going to take it to the NFC North. We have the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. And, I mean, at the beginning of the season, this was an interesting matchup, first game of the week, and the Bears rallied. Was it down 21? No, you had to feel it was 21. Yeah, it was 21 down, right? They were down 21, and Mitch Trubisky led them back. Now, last game Mitch Trubisky played, he did not look good. He looked really, really bad. And a lot of people were bashing him after the game, saying this is why, Nick Foles took your spot, basically. It's just tough for Trubisky. I'm not, defending him or anything, but it's just like a tough spot to be in. I mean, it looked like none of the Bears players last game really wanted to fight for him and help him out there. So I can't take too much away from him. But against this Detroit Lions team, they're a very young team, and they just fired Matt Patricia this past week. So I got to go with the Bears, even though I just don't trust them that much. What about you, Chris?
I mean, it's hard to say, man, but I have to agree with a lot of what you're saying. The Bears players, half the time, they don't even look like they're trying anymore because Foles and Trubisky basically are the reasons that they're losing. I mean, the Bears have lost 5 in a row, and potentially, realistically, if they could pull it together at the quarterback position, they could win the rest of the year and win 5 in a row. Their schedule's not that tough. I mean, they play Detroit, Houston, Minnesota, Jacksonville, and their only challenge really is Green Bay, even though we've lost to Minnesota already this year. But we should be able to beat them. I mean, the Lions have lost 5 in a row to the Bears as well, so one of these streaks is going to end. It is also my dad's team, the Detroit Lions, taking on the Chicago Bears. So, I got to go with my team. I got to go. Bear down, baby.
I didn't know this turned into college game day.
The Corso out here.
I think Chicago is due for a bounce back. A lot of these games that they've lost, they've lost close games. I like Trubisky better than Foles, but I'm going to go with Detroit in this one.
Tell them to pick up the other helmet right now.
So, yeah, I'm going to take the Lions. I just think the Bears have way too many quarterback issues, and that team, they just don't – there's no fire in that team. So I'm going to take the Lions.
It's been really unfortunate because the Bears were one of the hottest teams to come out the gates at the beginning of the year and then just had a horrible slide of just losing 5 straight, like Chris said. I mean, it's very, very strange what's happening there. Now we have
also, Austin, one thing that I thought was interesting. This is the first week NFL Game Picker has all 3 of our teams in a row to start off our game pick.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
So I found that kind of cool.
Yeah, next we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Houston Texans. Colts 7-4, Texans 4-7, and I mean, I'm just hoping that the Texans keep losing games, so that draft selection just keeps on getting better and better for the Dolphins. So obviously I'm taking the Colts as a Dolphins homer. But at the end of the day, I think the Colts could win this anyways. Not only that, it's just they've been doing really good on defense. And then offensively, hasn't been the very best, but it's been enough, especially like when you get win a game against Aaron Rodgers and do a big game and you end up with the win in overtime. So that speaks volumes to the team that they are. So I'm still going to ride with the Colts on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts. Deshaun Watson's looked real good, though. I think I saw a stat his last 3 games. He's thrown 15 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. But they did just lose Kenny Stills and one of their corners. They tested positive for PEDs, so they're going to be out the rest of the year. I just don't see this Houston team trending in the right direction, so I'm going to go with the Colts here.
Yeah, I think Will Fuller got suspended, too, for PEDs. And they didn't have much weapons on offense to begin with. Deshaun Watson's pretty much that team by itself on offense. I'm going to take Indy. They got smacked by Tennessee last weekend. So I think they do for bounce back.
Yeah, it should be fun to see the Texans keep losing, honestly. Eddie, our Dolphins fans, we're going to be happy about that. Nonetheless, staying in Florida, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Minnesota Vikings. So technically in Minnesota. Point is, Jaguars 1-10, Vikings 5-6. Vikings have been on quite a run. They started off 1-4, and now they've been 4-2 since. So they're right up there with the Bears at the same kind of spot, and they're just basically the flip version of themselves. It's going to be fun to watch the Vikings whip on these Jaguars because Jaguars are basically second place for tanking right now to the Jets because they got to win the week 1, surprising win, and then haven't won since. What about you guys? What do you guys think about this game?
Yeah, unfortunately for me as a Bears fan, I don't think Jacksonville wants to win this game, and I don't think they will. They have the 29th defense in Jackson rush defense going against Dalvin Cook, who's leading the league in rushing right now. So I think they're gonna have a field day. Jacksonville offense or defense sucks. Just to be fair, it just sucks. It's terrible. And like you mentioned, they're trying to get that second spot, and I don't think they're gonna want to win this game. So you have to go Minnesota here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota too. I think Dalvin Cook has a field day. The Vikings are kind of heating up at the right time. They had that bad loss to the Cowboys, but for the most part, they've been pretty consistent. And Mike Glennon is going to be fighting for a win, but I don't think there's enough around him. I think Minnesota.
Yeah. So from the second best tanking team to the first best tanking team, the Las Vegas Raiders at the New York Jets. Raiders are 6-5. Jets are 0-11. And Dolphins just beat down on the Jets last week. Between the two games they played this year, they've only allowed 3 points against them, so that's really good. Obviously, you're playing the worst team in the NFL, but still limiting to just 3 points in 8 quarters, that's pretty good. Point is, I'm taking Las Vegas. They continue their strides. They've been hitting some bumps in the roads, but it's going to be interesting. And the Dolphins versus the Raiders game, I believe it's in week 16, if I'm not wrong. Just got moved to Saturday. Yeah, week 16 got moved to Saturday, which is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think the Jets have to win one game this year. I mean, it's harder to go 0-16 than 16-0. But it's not going to be this game. I think the Raiders get an easy one here.
Yeah, I'm agree with Chris. I think it's going to be an easy win for the Raiders. Probably a closer game than people think, but I'm still going to go with the Raiders.
Yeah, if it's a closer game than people think, I'm going to be quite shocked with the Raiders and their chances at being good in the playoffs this year, because they're looking like a possible playoff team, but I don't know, man. It's coming close. Point is, we're going to the next game. We have the New Orleans Saints at the Atlanta Falcons. Saints are 9-2. Falcons are 4-7. Same kind of thing with all these teams that have fired their coach throughout this season so far. Falcons, Texans, and I believe the Lions. But the Lions just fired them this week. But they're all 4-7, which is kind of funny. But I do think, obviously, the Saints are going to win this game. But it should be close because Drew Brees is still not back. And obviously, if you don't have Drew Brees there, it's not going to be the easiest job for the Saints to win. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, so speaking of the Raiders, the Falcons just put a beatdown on the Raiders last week. Raiders only scored 6 points, and Falcons put up 40-something on them. And that's not saying nothing, but it's hard to pick against the Saints right now. That defense is playing elite. It might be the best defense in football right now. It's hard, though, with the Saints. It's hard to pick them when they don't have Drew Brees at quarterback, but I am going to take the Saints this week. I think Falcons are so up and down. It's incredible.
Yeah, I agree. You never know which Falcons team you're going to get. I wanted to pick Atlanta bad this week. I had a feeling they're at home. They already lost to Taysom Hill once, I think, in his first. You know what? Let's take Atlanta.
You're taking Atlanta?
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel that they were hot last week. They put up 40-something points. And they've already seen Taysom Hill once, which I think should help them game plan a little bit better for Drew Brees being out. So I'm going to take the Falcons.
Yeah, that is something to consider. But just like Chris said, they're very inconsistent, and that is something that keeps me away from picking Atlanta a lot of these times. When I saw that they were beating the Raiders that bad last week, I was kind of like caught off guard, like, oh my, like, what did I just walk onto? You know. So it was just like, wow, this is very shocking. Next, we have what we mentioned as probably one of the best divisions in football right now, the NFC West matchup. Los Angeles Rams at the Arizona Cardinals. And, Rams are 7-4. Cardinals are 6-5. And no one's really giving up in this NFC West. The only team that's really trading pretty bad is the 49ers, and that's 5-6, and that's the worst record in that division. That could win you the NFC East if you were in that division. So, point is, I'm picking the Rams, but it could go either way. This has been one of the hardest divisions to select games, like for divisional matchups, just because either team could win any game. So it's been very hard. What do you guys pick?
Yeah, this is a great matchup. It's one of the best divisions in football. It's a 4:00 game. It's better than that Sunday night game and the Monday night game. Uh, I think it's a great matchup. It's going to be a really interesting to see who plays better between the quarterbacks in Goff and Murray, because they're both fairly young and still, I would say Goff is still developing even now. So I'm going to take Arizona, but this is so tough. It's that Rams defense is so good that I do feel like they're going to get after Kyler, and I don't know if they're going to be able to contain him. If he gets outside of the pocket, he's rushing. He's like top 5 in rushing, I think, right now, or some crazy stat like that. So I'm going Arizona here.
Yeah, the Cardinals are one of those teams too. You never know when they're going to show up. Last week they looked terrible against New England, but it's a tough game to pick. I don't necessarily love the Rams here, so I'm going to take the Cardinals. I feel like they're due for a bounce back after a terrible game last week against New England. They should have won that game.
That's something I took into consideration when I was picking this game. But I think the Rams are just a little bit hotter than the Cardinals right now, and they can maintain their success because they've been looking really good so far. Next, we have the New York Giants at the Seattle Seahawks, and NFC West versus NFC East. It's going to be very fun to watch this matchup. Do I think the Seattle Seahawks put a beatdown on them? Not necessarily, but the game is going to be just a little bit out of reach for the Giants. I think they can compete, but tell me no if I'm wrong, but isn't Daniel Jones hurt? Yeah, right? So he's not playing. So
Colt McCoy is the quarterback.
Oh, Colt McCoy, don't mess with that guy. He can sling it around, man. But honestly, Seattle's going to win this game, but Giants are going to compete, but it's not going to be as close as some people would like it to be.
I think Seattle wins this one pretty easily. I don't know if the Giants want to win that division, especially with Daniel Jones and the running back. I can't think of his name. Saquon Barkley. Yeah, Saquon, with both of them out, I really don't know if they want to win that division. Although they are leading it next in line is Washington, but I think the easy pick here is Seattle.
It's a great quarterback matchup with Russell Wilson and Colt McCoy, but yeah, Seattle should win this game pretty easy. New York has to travel across the country, especially banged up too. Seattle should win this pretty easy.
Yeah. Next, we have the New England Patriots at the Los Angeles Chargers. Patriots 5-6, Chargers 3-8. I do think the Chargers finally get a decent win. This is probably the week that they got to do it right now. Yeah, the Patriots are 5-6, but they're not as good as their record says. There's a lot of games that they should have lost, and sometimes they've won. Especially last week, they got a game-winning field goal out of the kicker. So, I mean, games are close with the Patriots, and so are for the Chargers. But I think the Chargers finally break out a big win necessarily that they really need. Technically, they're not eliminated from the playoffs, but if they want to make any type of push, right now is the moment. Besides that, I wouldn't be surprised if either team won this game, but I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Patriots here. I don't think Bill Belichick loses to a rookie quarterback. The Chargers defense has been bad. And it's shocking, but they've been bad. They allowed 27 or more points in the last 8 games. So you're pretty much just trying to outscore everybody, and I don't think you're going to put up over 30 points against Bill Belichick as a rookie quarterback. But it could go either way, honestly. But in this one, I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Chargers here. I think Herbert has a pretty good game. I don't know how the Patriots won Cam Newton only throwing for 87 yards last week. That blows my mind. But, yeah, New England's just a mediocre team this year. Nothing special. They're not bad. They're well coached, but I'm going to take the Chargers here.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eddie. And, I mean, like me and Chris said, it can go either way. It's going to be one of those games that we just, at the end of the day, we question, like, who's actually going to win this when it comes down to it. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles at the Green Bay Packers. Should I say less? Eagles are 3-7-1. Packers are 8-3. I'm going to go with the Packers. I mean, I have nothing really else to compete with it.
Yeah, I mean, I hope the Eagles win, but I'm taking the Packers here. I need to make up some ground, so I can't be foolish and pick the Eagles.
No, yeah, I think the Packers win this one pretty easy. I mean, I don't know how technically Philadelphia is right in the playoff hunt there, but if it was any other year and that division was good, I think they should just have Jalen Hurts start the rest of the year. If that division was more out of reach, but it's not, so they'll keep one set in there.
Yeah, the biggest issue with Philadelphia right now is that they're pretty much locked into Carson Wentz for a couple of years. Like, it's no matter what they do, it's going to cost them so much money, so they might as well just write them out.
Did you see that they were playing Wentz though a little bit on Sunday?
You mean Hurts? Yeah.
Hurts,
he was going some
sorry,
packages. Yeah, I saw.
Just to hand the ball off, basically, is all he was doing, man. I don't think he even threw it more than twice.
Get a feel for some game speed. He's gonna get some action before the year is over. That's without a doubt. The thing is, have you seen the stat that basically shows that Carson Wentz has been like one of the worst quarterbacks in football this year?
So Hurts he might be the fourth quarterback out of that draft. I like Jalen Hurts. I think he deserves a chance. Everybody's banged up on that team. Carson Wentz looks awful. He's the worst quarterback in the league this year, statistically wise.
He is. I saw this interesting stat that like it just made him look like the worst quarterback. I mean, when it comes to statistics, but yeah, I do like Hurts, like you said too, because I like his playing style. He could run it well. He could throw the ball in medium to short range really well. Deep ball is not there yet. He needs to work on that. Besides that, Jalen Hurts could be an easy NFL quarterback. Next, we have the Denver Broncos at the Kansas City Chiefs. This is Sunday Night Football, and Broncos 4-7, Chiefs 10-1, second in the AFC overall, and they're going to become 11-1 after this week. I just don't see the Broncos winning, especially with having all this coronavirus problem with their quarterbacks. Yes, Hinton is going to get another week at practice, possibly, but it's not a good performance last week against Saints, and Saints have a really good defense, similar to how the Chiefs have a good to decent defense, so I don't expect the Broncos to win this.
Yeah, I don't expect Broncos to win either. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas City definitely here.
Yeah, Kansas City should win this game pretty easy. There's not much to say about it.
Yeah, let's just move on from that. Next, we have the Washington football team at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Washington is 4-7, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are 11-0. First place in the AFC, first place in the NFL overall because they're the only undefeated team. Point is, a lot of people have been bashing them, especially because their strength of schedule. They probably have had one of the lowest strengths of schedule for teams that are having success this year. Obviously, that has to do with the record that they had last year. They were probably, I believe, second in their division last year because they were behind the Bengals. So they weren't that good last year, and it helped them out because they had a softer schedule compared to if they were the Ravens playing the number one seeds off on the AFC. So that does bring some things into factor. But even then, I mean, it's still something to say when you go undefeated to this point of the season. You're a pretty good team at that point. Point is, going with Steelers, that's an obvious pick there. Any upsets here? You guys think the football team can win?
Like I mentioned earlier, I think it's harder to go 0-16 than 16-0, and I think Pittsburgh has a really good shot of it. There's remaining schedule, and the overall schedule hasn't really been too difficult. But I think Washington is going to give them some trouble. Their defense is actually pretty good with Chase Young, Jonathan Allen up front, and Kendall Fuller and Ronald Darby. Their defense is pretty good, but Washington is hurt on the offensive side. McLaurin's going to be out, I think, this week. Plus, Alex Smith is still, trying to figure out if he can even play in the NFL. So you have to go Pittsburgh here, and that's what I'm picking. But I wouldn't be shocked if Washington, pulled off an upset here.
Yeah, Pittsburgh really didn't impress me against Baltimore last week. Considering Baltimore really didn't practice, I mean, neither of the teams practiced all week, but had I think it was 12 practice squad players playing that game. I thought Pittsburgh should have won that game a little more convincingly than they did, but I'm still going to take Pittsburgh this week. I don't think Washington's the team to beat them.
Yeah, former Pittsburgh Steelers player Ryan Clark, he's on ESPN, and he was saying that Steelers team is not going to compete with the Kansas City Chiefs. If like what he saw that day, he said if that team shows up to play against the Kansas City Chiefs when they do probably eventually match up in the playoffs, that they will not beat the Chiefs at all. And I kind of agree with what he said and what you were saying, Eddie. So they did not look impressive, but I think they do have a good game, and it's going to be a real good show because, like Chris said, this is a good defense. So going against that good defense to see what Pittsburgh does. Next, we have the actual Monday night game because the Pittsburgh game is going to be at 5 o'clock because they got moved. Point is, they're playing Buffalo Bills at the San Francisco 49ers. And no, they're not playing in San Francisco. They're going to be playing in Arizona at the Cardinals Stadium because of some coronavirus-related stuff that they can't play in their stadium. So it's pretty funny that they're going to be playing at the divisional rivals stadium. Point is, I'm taking the Bills. Bills are 8-3. 49ers are 5-6. Yeah, the 49ers are a decent team, but the Bills are just on a roll, and I see them continuing that roll at least this week. Week 17, I don't know too much.
So for this week, this is my upset of the week. I am going to be taking the homeless San Francisco 49ers. Raheem Mostert's back and Deebo Samuel is back this week. Bills aren't very good on the road. I think they're 3-2 on the year. So I'm just going to take an upset here. Bills are traveling kind of far. And honestly, the 49ers are looking competitive. If you take into consideration all the players they have gotten hurt or COVID or what have you this year, they're still competing in that division. So this is my upset of the week.
The Arizona 49ers against the Bills. I'm going to take the Bills. I think San Francisco is one of these teams like Atlanta and Arizona that it depends which team you end up playing. But, yeah, I think Buffalo's rolling. They've looked pretty good all year. I think they'll keep it up, especially both teams are kind of the road team now. So I'm going to take Buffalo.
Yeah, it's interesting that they're going to be going through that type of – it's a unique scenario. I mean, 2020 is just what a year, let's be honest. But I like what Chris said. I do agree with what you said. But let's move on to the last game, Tuesday Night Football. We have the Dallas Cowboys at the Baltimore Ravens. You know the Cowboys had to sneak in an extra nationally televised game. Come on, let's be real. They plotted this all along. But, yeah, the game is on Tuesday, and it's the 3-8 Cowboys at the 6-5 Baltimore Ravens. I do not think this will give Lamar Jackson enough time to recover from coronavirus. I doubt it. I don't think he'll clear the protocol in time. But if he does, I mean, Ravens win this. But if he doesn't, then the Cowboys win. So this game I'm going to put a stipulation. If Lamar plays, Ravens win. If he doesn't, Cowboys win. Plain and simple.
Wow, okay. That's a good stipulation. Tuesday Night Football. This is interesting. This is the first year we've had multiple Tuesday Night Football games. So this is – I don't know if it's cool is the right word, but I'm going to say this is kind of cool, a Tuesday night game. But it's not a great game. I think whoever plays quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens is going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. The Baltimore needs a win. They have been dealing with some COVID issues, but either way, I think both their running backs are going to come back for the Ravens. They were out last week. Hopefully Lamar comes back because they really do need this win in order for them to try to make a playoff push this year. They've really sort of fallen off from last year, so they're going to battle against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys have been terrible all year. So I'm going with the Ravens.
Yeah, I'm going with the Ravens no matter who they put at quarterback. That Dallas team they're special. Yeah, I don't see any way Baltimore loses this game. Even with RG3 didn't look that bad against the Steelers. He did one terrible pick and a couple nice runs, and I forgot who the other quarterback was that played a little bit for them. Yeah, I'm gonna take Baltimore.
Yeah, RG3 is hurt, I think. So I'm pretty sure he's out. I don't even know who the backup is. I think it's like McSorley, yeah.
Oh, I think you're gonna mix Sorley. I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, it's gonna be quite a show. But that wraps up Week 13. Like we mentioned earlier, check out NFL Game Picker for all your game picking needs. This is where the video is on. And last but not least, any extra thoughts about Week 13? I really liked your little crack at the 49ers, calling them the Arizona 49ers. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, hopefully this is kind of the end of the COVID stuff that we're seeing. Oh, I really don't want to see playoffs affected by this, man. There's 5 games left in the year. But, yeah, hopefully we don't see this. Hopefully the Bears come back and get a win. And hopefully both our quarterbacks and the Bears and the Dolphins actually could throw more than 250 yards and a couple touchdowns. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs and Dolphins get easy wins this week to set up Tua against Mahomes next week to battle some goats. So we'll see.
Yeah, Jim Nantz and Tony Romo will be calling that Chiefs-Dolphins game next weekend. Everyone's so mystical about that CBS crew, but it's no big deal. Something I want to mention, like Chris, luckily you mentioned that as well, is just everything is about the coronavirus. And, not too much has really created a damper on the season. A lot of games have been postponed, but there's only been, I think, one game that has had to been rescheduled. Like a game that was going to be played had to be rescheduled. Other games got shuffled around, but besides that, one game actually had to be rescheduled. So I think the NFL is doing good in handling it, but I mean, it's inevitable. I mean, there's so many people involved in this, so it's a very tricky year, and I think they're handling it pretty well. And they just pulled up the posters of all the billboards about the Super Bowl in Tampa. So they already have the date, February 7th. So, I mean, it's official. So it's going to happen. But hopefully they can actually stick to that date. That's the thing I don't want to change. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And thanks for watching. Have a great day.